Hi everyone. So I wanted to put together a channel update. I gave an update back in January of 2025 of goals that I had for the channel this year, and it took me a bit longer to move some of those things along, but I'm happy to say that I'm ready to provide an update. So for those of you who have just recently subscribed, welcome obviously to my humble little corner of the internet. You're stumbling into something that's been several years going that I've been gratified has gotten some traction with some people, and my hope has been to build a little bit more community around it. So that's what this update is all about. For those of you who have been watching for some time, thank you, of course, and also hopefully this update will speak to some of the things I've hinted at doing that now I'm finally ready to kind of pull the ripcord on, so we'll see how this all goes. But first, a few of the things that I talked about back in January. First of all, I'm going to start with the failed goal, or a quasi-failed goal first. I said back in January I was going to read City of God this year by Augustine, the great kind of big text from Augustine. And I did start reading it. I got through book 4, and I just lost the steam. I lost the momentum. I've since found out that it's one of the most common jumping off points is book 4. So that gratified me a little bit to know that I wasn't alone there, but I was really enjoying it, but I found myself struggling with a lot of the contextual stuff that I had no idea. Like, he's referring to things that are happening at the time that I just had no context for, no understanding of, and I found myself getting a little bewildered by it in that book in particular at that stuff. So sadly, I kind of lost my momentum and I haven't gotten back into it. But I will say, Baker Academic, the timing is wonderful because Baker Academic this year by Gregory Lee put out The Essential City of God, which is a reader and a commentary, a companion volume to those trying to get through City of God. And I have a copy of that book. So I am going to start that book. I'm going to catch back up to where I was in City of God, and then I'm going to try to, hopefully with his help, with Lee's help, get past where I stalled out and keep going. So that's where that goal is for those of you who, not that any of you are waiting with bated breath on how I was doing with City of God, but that's just so you know, that's where I'm at on that. Now, I have more positive things to share about the other updates. So one of the things I talked about was that I wanted to start a podcast feed. I had gotten some requests over the years for videos to be also in audio only form so they can be experienced that way. And I have created a podcast feed, and I have released I dug up one of my older videos, The ABCs of Fundamentalism, as the first podcast episode, but you can, as of today, I confirmed that it is listed on Apple and Spotify. You can look up my name, you can look up Books and Big Ideas and find audio feed of what I do. I'm going to put my most recent videos in that audio feeds this week as well, so they'll be available. But if you are interested in audio only, or if you know someone who only does podcasts and not YouTube, share away, whatever you want to do with that. But I want to let people know there is now a podcast feed available of what I am putting out into the world. And then the other update, and this is going to get into a bigger thing I want to talk about, is I talked about wanting to start a book club around the audience of this channel. I have to admit some fear and trembling here. I'm going into some uncharted territory for me. I'm going into something that I didn't really anticipate doing, but I am also excited about it. I'm hopeful and optimistic and excited about maybe the community that we can build around this. But I am ready to pull the trigger on getting a book club going, an online book club. But this is going to take some explanation, and it also involves Patreon. Which, as I say that, I struggle a little bit with it because I'm a big podcast person, I'm a big YouTube person, and just everyone has a Patreon, and everyone endlessly goes on about drumming their Patreon and trying to get people to sign up for it, and I don't want to turn into one of those people that's constantly pushing Patreon, and I'm going to try not to push it. I'm going to try not to be like sales pitchy and shill it all the time. I'm really not. But I'm also going to try to strike this balance of if people want to become more part of the community and maybe part of building a community around what I'm doing here, Patreon seems like the best channel and the best platform from which to do that. So I want to talk a few minutes here about what this is going to look like, what my hopes and what my goals are for this Patreon, for this platform. So first of all, big picture, kind of what I imagine, what I envision. It seems to me that I have connected with a certain number of people. What I do seems to resonate to some degree with people who find themselves homeless for various reasons, spiritually, ecclesially homeless. People like me who grew up in very conservative settings that have kind of questioned some of that stuff, but are not willing to pendulum react the entire way to a full-on deconstruction, progressive, whatever. But also, I'm gratified to know that I think there are some more progressive or not even non-Christian or ex-Christian people who appreciate what I do, that also feel like they have permission to express kind of where they're at on things. So I feel like I don't have a strictly, conservative, progressive, even those labels I don't really love, but I feel like I don't have an audience that skews one way or another, which I love and I'm grateful for. And I want to create space for people who maybe have a harder time finding in-person community that lets them express these questions or doubts or frustrations or hurt or whatever it is. If they can't find that in person, if they can find some sort of connection with other people through this online presence that I have, I would be really gratified about that. I've been gratified and encouraged by the notes that I've gotten from people who have connected with the stuff that I've been putting out there. So Patreon seems to be the best kind of next step to try to support that. So that's what I'm trying to do. To that end, I am going to talk about the book club. The book club is going to be the primary, I think, source of interpersonal connection along those lines, community, so to speak, online community at least. So what I'm going to do with Patreon is I'm going to try to foster that, and I've created 3 different ways to hook in, 3 different levels of support, you could say, through Patreon. And I'm hoping that these provide 3 different ways that, depending on where you're at, if you just want to kind of like generally support what I'm doing, support it so that I can create community for other people, or if you really want to jump in and like experience some of this connection, more personally, hopefully there's a range of options there for you. But really briefly, here's what I want to do. Here's how I'm envisioning this working. I am going to provide a kind of base level, just $2 a month. If you just want to help kind of support this whole idea, you can do it at that level. And then what I'm going to do at that level is if you give $2 a month, I'm going to release voting polls on occasion, not on any predetermined schedule, but like I'm going to let people vote on either particular book titles that they would like me to feature on the channel in a review, or a particular topic for a video essay. Some people have asked for topics like violence in the Old Testament, for example, or my journey through the doctrine of Scripture and inerrancy and all that stuff. If you give $2 a month, you're going to be able to vote on that stuff. And I'm also going to start sending out a once a month, probably at the end of the month. Here's some thoughts on general things I've been reading, and here's what I'm looking forward to coming out soon. Kind of a book newsletter, like a couple sentences on things I'm reading, and I'm going to try to feature stuff I don't put videos about. I read 2 to 3-ish books a week, generally speaking, and so I read a bunch of stuff I don't talk about on YouTube, and in that newsletter, I'm going to try to feature some of that stuff, including fiction. I read a lot of fantasy fiction, I read a lot of Stephen King, I read a lot of stuff that I just don't talk about here, and in that newsletter, I'm going to talk about those things. And I'll talk about, here's what I have my eye on that's going to be released in the near future. So if you're interested in getting a newsletter like that once a month, $2 a month, I'm going to send that to all those folks. $5 a month, if you know Patreon, you know how this works. $5 a month gets you all that. So you'll get the newsletter, you'll be able to vote. And then if you give $5 a month, you'll also be able to give direct input. You'll be able to recommend titles for review and for the book club. And you'll also be able to recommend topic ideas. So not only will you be able to vote, but you'll be able to suggest ideas for me to tackle in video format, review format. So and you'll also get the newsletter. So that's the $5 a month if you want to, go up a little bit higher and have a little bit more direct input. And then finally, the big level, I'm calling it the inner circle. I couldn't think of a good title. This is $10 a month, and this is if you want to be in the book club. And I want to talk about how that's hopefully going to work. I'm picturing a once a month Zoom or video call in which whoever is at the $10 a month threshold will get invited to, and I'm just going to set a day and a time, and we're going to keep it consistent, and it'll be 90-minute discussion time on a particular book. Now, how we select that particular book will also be done by the community. I'll obviously have kind of major editorial control over that, but I would like for it to be kind of organically communally selected. So the people who submit recommendations at the $5 a month level, I'm going to send out invitations to submit title ideas, and then we'll do voting. Everyone who supports the channel on whatever level will be able to vote. And then whatever title comes to the surface, and I'll have a page count limit, like something like probably 300, maybe 350 pages under that, since we're doing this once a month. No 1,000 page tomes, please. But the title will come to the surface through suggestion and voting. And then once it's selected, I'll let everyone know this is going to be our book club selection for the next month. And then everyone who supports at $10 a month or higher, well, it won't be higher, but $10 a month, you will be able to participate in the book club discussion, which will be live. It'll be invite only. I will be there, obviously. And that, I think, hopefully, my hope is that that will be where actual connection and community will be able to be formed over time. So I want to do this once a month. So there will be a once a month newsletter, polls, and then invitation for input. And then if you give $10 a month, you'll be invited to an in-person, well, not in-person, but online, live, rather is what I meant to say, discussion about the title that has been selected by the community each month. So I think this could be really fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping the book club won't necessarily only be new books, but I think it'd be fun to do older books. It might, books by Christians, by non-Christians, history, philosophy, of course, theology, biblical studies, all that stuff. I think that it could be really interesting to see what kind of books and titles people want to read. I'm hoping that the community puts titles on my radar that I'm not familiar with. But overall, I think I'm cautiously optimistic that this could be a really fun and positive and engaging way to move forward with kind of what I've been doing on this channel. And I'm hoping that it does provide support, permission, an outlet for people to both read and, if you're at the book club level, to discuss and maybe even form connections and new relationships. So yeah, I'm gonna try Patreon. Let's see how this goes. It's kind of a new page, pun intended, I suppose. Turning a new page here in this whole journey with what I've been doing. And I'm cautiously optimistic, but hopeful that this can be a positive thing. So that's the update. If you have questions or input on anything I said, as always, post away, reach out. I have ways to get in touch with me. People are able to find those. But check out my Patreon. I'm going to put the link, of course, below. And let me know if you have questions or thoughts or feedback on all the above. But hopefully this is an exciting turning point for what I've been doing here. As always, thanks for taking a few minutes to watch.